Good afternoon, and welcome to another edition of Baseball, A Pure Perspective. I'm your host, Patrick Carden, and this episode of Baseball, A Pure Perspective is sponsored by eCredit Success, life-changing credit solutions for vets on media. The life-changing credit solutions for vets on and military personnel. Vets on Media has partnered with ECS, which is eCredit Success, to offer a free credit consultation and discounts for all veterans and military personnel. You can go to www.vetsonradio or click on the eCredit Success logo and get your free consultation today. And welcome everybody out there today. And it's been an interesting week in baseball. We saw our first triple play of the year last night at the Yankee Stadium. It was kind of unconventional, as my cousin put it. Went back to 4-5, 4-5-3, and back to 2. And they got 2 rundowns to complete a triple play. So that was kind of unusual against the Baltimore Orioles last night. Also, we had a crazy brawl with the Dodgers and the San Diego Padres. Matt Greinke, one of their star pitchers, busted his collarbone during the running into Carlos Quentin, who charged the mound, and there's some suspensions handed out. Carlos Quentin will be out for 8 games, and Greinke indefinitely with that busted collarbone. That's going to hurt the Dodgers. And
I just disagree with that suspension.
Yeah,
110%. I disagree with it.
Well, you know what? Most announcers,
because it was Greinke.
Yeah, but yeah, again. He outweighs him by like 60 pounds.
Yeah, no, right? Yeah, I'm going to take on a fullback. I'm going to lower my shoulder with my 115-pound frame.
Yeah, and some of the announcers, whether you disagree with it or not, we're offering that, well, he should be out as long as the injury, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
But you actually heard comments about that. And then Jose Reyes, once again, is injured.
Yep.
It's going to hurt Toronto. Sliding into second base, got ankle problems. Could be out up to 3 months. So with him and Dickey off to a rough start, Toronto does not look as promising. And right now, believe it or not, the Red Sox and the Yankees are tied for first place.
The Red Sox are in first because we own the tiebreaker because we beat the Yankees in the opening series.
Yeah, there's only 155 games left.
Whatever, it matters.
Okay. Last night I got the chance to see the movie 42, Jackie Robinson, and pretty much that's what I'm going to dedicate this show to today and the history behind it. Of course, Jackie Robinson came out of the Negro Leagues, as a great many other players did. It was a very, very good movie. 42 was, of course, Jackie Robinson's number, which the anniversary of Jackie Robinson's debut in the major leagues will be this Monday, April 15th. 1947 was the year. It's 66 years right now, and it's kind of hard to believe that it's gone on that long. And now, of course, every player wears number 42 on April 15th at every game. There's no names on the back like there used to be in those days. Every player will wear number 42. There's actually only one player still wearing 42, and that's Mariano Rivera, the closer for the Yankees, and he's retiring at the end of this year, and no one else will ever be issued that number because it's the only number that is retired by every Major League Baseball team and is prominently posted in every ballpark throughout Major League Baseball. 42 was a 2-hour movie last night, almost an hour longer than the original Jackie Robinson story in 1950, which was played by Jackie Robinson himself and Ruby Dee, who played Rachel Robinson, his wife. Rachel Robinson had a lot of input with this movie, as did his daughter. It was very true to what they depicted in the movie. Some dramatic license. There was the famous scene where Pee Wee Reese puts his arm around Jackie Robinson in Cincinnati when the moment he stepped on the field, he was heckled by a lot of the racist fans. And it was actually during batting practice and pregame warm-ups that this took place. Many believe that it was during a game, but it was actually before the warm-ups. Pee Wee Reese went up to Jackie Robinson, put his arm around him, and basically silenced the crowd. That was a true event. And the dramatic license that took place in the movie, I didn't really want to spoil it for those who have not seen it yet, but he mentioned to Jackie in the movies that, well, maybe one day all of us will be wearing 42 so they can't recognize who's who. And, of course, that is true today, but obviously I don't think he said that 66 years ago. There was dramatic license to point out the fact that does what happens now every year on April 15th. And it is quite a spectacle to see a whole lineup of 42s at every Major League Baseball game. And if you turn into any Major League Baseball game this Monday the 15th, you will see every player wearing number 42. That year, 1947, Jackie Robinson was actually Rookie of the Year that year. He was the first, of course, Negro player in Major League history, and there was a debate on when that would happen and who that would happen. Branch Rickey was a major player in bringing Jackie Robinson in. He was determined to win. He wanted to win, and he didn't care who the person was as long as he could play baseball. And Chadwick Boseman portrayed Jackie Robinson last night, and he has a very good likeness of Jackie Robinson. And he played that down to a T. And his wife, who played Rachel Robinson, was played by Nicole Ferrari, who actually played Ernie Davis's girlfriend in the movie The Express, if no one's familiar with that, back in 2008. The Express was about legendary football player Ernie Davis, who never made it to the NFL because of leukemia. And he was going to be partnered with Jim Brown on the Cleveland Browns. That was the plan. So that was a great movie, and she was the co-star in that movie alongside the Ernie Davis portrayal, which was another great movie. But getting back to 42, one of the things that I took notice of in the movie, they were very true to everything that happened. They started off him playing in the Negro Leagues, and the graphics was incredible. the portrayal of where the Brooklyn Dodgers played at the time, Ebbets Field, and the Giants, then the New York Giants, now San Francisco Giants, played at the Polo Grounds, and they played 22 games a year with each other, 11 in each ballpark. And it's amazing what computer graphics can do today. Those ballparks look like brand new and like they still existed. It didn't even look like background graphics. It's just amazing what technology can do today, and I just love seeing the old ballparks. They showed the people walking up to the ballpark just like it was there today. And in the inside, it was just as pristine as could be. It's just wish you could see them today, but they tear down the old ballparks. One thing I did notice when they were playing in Pittsburgh, the old Forbes Field, one thing they did leave out, if anybody really knows baseball, there was a left field bleachers at the end of the stands that actually was missing in that computer graphic. And also, one thing Forbes Field was noted for was their batting cage. They didn't take that off the field. They rolled it around to the deep center field fence and parked it right next to the flagpole. And I kind of noticed that somebody didn't do their homework when they were putting the graphics in and left out the batting cage in center field of Forbes Field, which was always there right up until they tore it down in 1970. One thing about Jackie Robinson, though, we figured, why did they pick him? There was many other Negro players that had a chance. Satchel Paige, a great pitcher. Josh Gibson, who was a monster home run hitter and a great catcher. There was a debate, which one? And a lot of the guys, including Leroy Doby, who people are not aware of, Larry Doby was the first Negro player to play in the American League. He came up in July of the same year and played with the Cleveland Indians. He mentioned the fact that a lot of people were discouraged and disheartened that they chose Jackie because they didn't feel he was actually the best player. But that's not what they were looking for. Not only he was a great player, he hit for average. He's in the Hall of Fame. He was the Rookie of the Year. But one of the things that they were looking at was character. Temper. Were they going to fight back? Of course, Branch Rickey was looking for someone who wasn't going to fight back, someone who could turn the other cheek. And that's what they liked about Jackie Robinson. Even though some of the things they questioned, he was noted for being in a lot of racial tension situations even before baseball. He was a UCLA graduate. He was a all-four sportsman. He played football, baseball, and basketball and track at UCLA. He was an officer in the Army. And there was an incident in the Army years ago where, in the military, they did not have segregation on buses, and he knew that. But the bus driver gave him a hard time for not sitting in the back of the bus, and they wanted to court-martial him. Of course, that never came to pass, but it was a little slap on the wrist. But he was known for taking a stand for any racial slur, any racial tension. If a friend of his got reprimanded, he stood up for him. So they were looking for that kind of character who wasn't afraid to take a lot of heat. He took more heat than any of us could imagine. Enos Slaughter spiked him within the first 2 weeks running the first base, because most people don't know Jackie Robinson played first base in his first year because they had Eddie Stanky at second and Pee Wee Reese at short. But the following years he would become the second baseman. So he got spiked when Enos Slaughter was running the first, and that was just one small example of the tension and the beatings that he took. The other thing is a little bit of interesting trivia. He only played 10 years. He came up in 47. After the 57 season, the Dodgers and the Giants both moved to California. And which most people don't know, that Jackie Robinson was actually traded to the Giants at the end of the 1957 season. And because of the rivalry, Jackie Robinson was noted for saying, there's no way I'm going to put on the Giants uniform. So he decided not to opt out of the trade, and that's when he retired. He didn't go west with the Giants when they moved to Los Angeles. So most people are not aware of that. Negro Leagues, it comes from a long, long history of people, and there were a lot of people to choose from. One guy that they pointed out in the movie last night was Wendell Smith. He was a writer that was credited for tipping off Branch Rickey of who would be the best Negro player to start with the Brooklyn Dodgers, of some of the players that I mentioned, like Josh Gibson and Satchel Paige. Wendell Smith was a writer. Like I said, he recommended Jackie Robinson to the Brooklyn Dodgers, and Branch Rickey listened to him, and because he was searching for the individual not only with strong character, but that he could successfully execute the integration of baseball. Now, there was a paper called the Courier that Wendell Smith worked for at the time that he that paid to travel with Jackie Robinson. They had to stay in separate hotels from his teammates due to the policies of segregation at the time. And Smith traveled with Robinson in the minors in 1946 and with the Brooklyn Dodgers in 1947. And he is a prominent character in that movie 42. And you don't see him mentioned or really hear of him in the past. Other players that took a stand in that movie was Leo DeRocha. Leo DeRocha was the manager of the Dodgers, and he basically quashed a petition that was going around with the other white players who refused to play with Jackie Robinson, and that didn't get very far because of the stand Leo DeRocha took. And of course, he was suspended actually that first year of Jackie Robinson from other issues that he had off the field. The movie 42 is playing in theaters all across the country. It's a 2-hour movie. I would highly recommend it because it's historic, and Harrison Ford does an excellent job as Branch Rickey. He word for word quotes in that movie when he was signing Jackie Robinson and about not fighting back and looking for the right person and the signing in his office. And it is truly a great movie. Now, Jack Robinson was actually born in Cairo, Georgia in 1919, and from a family of sharecroppers. Now, his mother basically raised Jackie because 6 months old, his father took off. And he basically didn't have a father around and 4 other children. So they were the only black family on their block. So they encountered prejudices from the start in the South in his whole life. So he kind of got used to it. So he just played through it and built a strong character. He basically played with mostly white people in UCLA and in the minor leagues, of course, before he came up to the Dodgers. In 1945, he actually played 1 season in the Negro Leagues. And he traveled all over the Midwest with Kansas City Monarchs, who's one of the most famous Negro League teams. And other people on there like Cool Papa Bell played there also. But he had greater challenges when he came up to the major leagues with black cats and racial slurs and just people doing terrible things. When Jackie Robinson was approached by Branch Rickey, he had not had an African-American player since 1899, which most people are not aware of. Jackie Robinson was the first player in the major leagues, and as we know it then, there was 8 teams in each league, and there was actually people that came up in the 1800s, which we call before the modern age. There was a guy known as Bud Fowler. He was actually the first professional black player that integrated the teams in exhibition games. There was the Toledo, Ohio American Association leagues that black players actually played in and played with white people in the 1800s before the establishment of the American and National Leagues. So there was a lot of players that played with white people, but this was the first one for the actually American National League. Larry Doby, like I said, came up in July. And what most people don't know, the Negro Leagues had a lot of players who went on to play Major League Baseball. The last player, and this is a little trivia question, that played in the Negro Leagues was Ike Brown, that actually became a Major League Baseball player for the Detroit Tigers in 1969. So in 1969, Ike Brown of the Detroit Tigers was the last player to be in Major League Baseball who played in the Negro Leagues. He was a fair player. He debuted in mid-season in 1969, and he played up about 5 years up until 74, all with the Detroit Tigers. What's ironic about Ike Brown, just the fact that we're doing the show today about Jackie Robinson and the Negro Leagues, today was his birthday, April 13th. And the year he was born, 42. Very ironic. And that was the last player to play in both the Negro Leagues and the major leagues. Some of the other prominent players of the Negro Leagues were Hank Aaron, Ernie Banks. Most people don't know, didn't make the major leagues, but Charlie Pride, the country singer, played in the Negro Leagues. He never made the majors. Another interesting player was Hank Thompson. No one's heard of Hank Thompson, but he actually came up the same year with the St. Louis Browns, who are now the Baltimore Orioles, in 1947, 2 days after Larry Doby played with the Cleveland Indians. So there's a lot of interesting history with some of the great players like Monty Irvin of the Giants, who came up in 1949, and Willie Mays in 1951. All played in the Negro Leagues, and now actually each player that I have mentioned are in the Hall of Fame. Don Newcombe came up in 1949. Roy Campanella, the famous catcher for the Dodgers, in 1948. So, and these were good players. They're Hall of Famers. Don Newcombe was actually the only player in history who, in the same year, both won the Most Valuable Player, the Cy Young, and the Rookie of the Year. No one has ever done that before, all in 1 year. And that's a lot of good history there. The Jackie Robinson is also the first Negro player to sign a formal contract with the Montreal Royals, who was the AAA affiliate of the Brooklyn Dodgers. And most people don't know, in 1946, when he signed that contract, that was the first year the AAA affiliate was recognized as the highest minor league level. Before that, there was just different associations. His second game, he got a first hit. He bunted and beat it out. He didn't get a hit in the first game, although his first game ever on April 15th, he did walk and score a run. He also became the first black player to steal home. And he actually had 19 career-based home steals, which is quite a feat when you think about it. Dan Bankhead is the first black player to play in the Major League game, and the first black player to hit home runs in his first Major League at bat. So both Jackie Robinson and Dan Bankhead are actually the first black players to appear in a World Series. And Roy Campanella was the first black catcher, and of course, had a tragic accident at the end of the 1957 season when he was driving home one night in some bad weather and car overturned, and he was crippled and was never able to walk again. So he never traveled west with the Dodgers to finish his career. Satchel Paige was the first black player to pitch in a World Series game. He appeared in relief, and he was with Cleveland Indians also. So there's a lot of good history with the Negro Leagues. One of the things about Jackie Robinson was he had character. He did turn the other cheek, but he did have his moments. There's some times where he had to actually go off the field and up the tunnel just to vent his frustrations, but he never showed it on the field. They show some very racist moments in the movie last night, like the manager Blackman of the Philadelphia Phillies, who just stood on the field, just tore him apart. And Ralph Branca, one of his teammates, actually went over and quieted him down. And they realized that Jackie was their teammate and they were going to play together and win. And, of course, that first year, they went to the World Series at Jackie Robinson. And Jackie Robinson actually played in the 6 World Series. Jackie Robinson also was famous for being an MVP. And he did a congressional testimony. He basically had taken a lot of stands. He walked a march in 1963 with Martin Luther King, and he just did a lot of good things for his people. And he died at the young age of 53 because of a lot of stress in his life. He had diabetes, and this whole thing of fighting for what he believed in took a toll on his life. He retired from baseball, like I said, in January 5th in 57. He was shortly diagnosed with diabetes after that. He actually was also the first Negro radio announcer. He basically broadcast for ABC Sports in 1965. And he was active in politics throughout his baseball life. He identified himself not as a Republican or as a Democrat, but as a political independent. and he had conservative opinions on several issues, including the Vietnam War. He actually once wrote Martin Luther King Jr. to defend the Johnson administration's military policy, and he supported Richard Nixon in the 1960 presidential race against John F. Kennedy. He later praised President Kennedy for his stance on civil rights, and he was angered by conservative Republican opposition to the Civil Rights Act of 1964. One of his dreams was to see actually a black manager in baseball, which didn't happen until after he died, when Frank Robinson actually became the first black manager in baseball. After Robinson's retirement, his wife, Rachel, who is still very active with his organizations today, pursued a career in academic nursing. He had 4 children, Jackie Robinson Jr., who was born in 1946, Sharon Robinson, David Robinson, and his eldest son, Robinson, Jackie Robinson Jr., had emotional trouble during his childhood, and he actually lost his life early in 1965. He was actually wounded in Vietnam, and he's just struggled with drug problems and eventually completed the treatment program. But that was hard on him, too. That took a toll on Robinson's life as well. He's well recognized throughout the world today. Since 2004, the AFLAC National High School Baseball Player of the Year has been presented to the Jackie Robinson Award. He also has been recognized outside of baseball. In December of 1956, the NAACP recognized him with the Spingarn Medal, which it awards annually for the highest achievement by an African American. And President Ronald Reagan posthumously awarded Robinson with the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 1984. In 2005, George W. Bush gave Robinson's widow the Congressional Gold Medal, the highest civilian award bestowed by Congress. And Robinson was the second player to receive that award after Roberto Clemente. Arnold Schwarzenegger and his wife, Maria Shriver, at the time in 2007, announced that Robinson was inducted into the California Hall of Fame, located in the California Museum of History in Sacramento. A number of buildings and streets are named in Robinson's honor. The UCLA Bruins, where he went to college, now play in the Jackie Robinson Stadium. And that was due to his efforts by his brother Mac, and it features a memorial of Jackie Robinson and sculptured by Richard Ellis. Now, there's also a ballpark where there's in Brooklyn where the Dodgers used to play. It's called Keyspan Park. The just an A team for the New York Mets play there. There's actually a statue outside that stadium with Pee Wee Reese arm around Jackie Robinson, which is impressive to see. One of the things they pointed out in the movie was that this was going to be only the beginning. The players knew once Jackie got in. One of the managers, Leo DeRocha, mentioned, "Hey, if you want to play, we'll gladly trade you. But if not, you can move on because a lot of these guys are going to come up and take your jobs because they're playing hard." So they felt threatened, and of course. Like I said, we have a lot of great players from the Negro Leagues that played, and unfortunately now, there's very few. There's only like 3% of African American people today in Major League Baseball, which is a shame because they had a big role over the years, and why that's diminishing is still a mystery. Maybe the country's going out too far in other places like Japan and Cuba, where there's talent also, and the Dominican Republic and all those islands down there, but. We have people right here in the country. If they just had more clinics here developed, and maybe we'd see a rise in that again because there's definitely talent. Jackie Robinson is actually interned at Hill Cemetery in Brooklyn. He basically grew up in California, and he is still recognized today and games with the Dodgers and in Citi Field, which was a big debate when they built that 4 years ago. It's a New York Mets team that has Dodger owners. They followed Brooklyn Dodgers when they were kids, and they wanted to model their new ballpark after Ebbets Field, which they did. And the whole rotunda is modeled after Jackie Robinson. It's modeled at what Ebbets Field looked like. And there's a big number 42 in the lobby, and there's nothing but banners and posters and videos constantly running around that rotunda with the history of Jackie Robinson and him with pictures of signing with Branch Rickey. Jackie Robinson, it's probably one of the better baseball movies I've seen in years. That is a true story. I mean, we've come up with Field of Dreams and The Natural, all good movies, but as far as the true story goes, that's about the best it is because it was depicted very accurately, and everything was authentic in the movie. The ball game, the uniforms, the everything about it was authentic. They've made movies about Babe Ruth recently that weren't any good. I mean, I've never seen a good movie made about Babe Ruth.
You didn't like The Babe?
No, I couldn't even watch it through. It was just terrible. Yeah.
Hey, real quick, Shane Victorino just got his first walk-off hit as a Red Sox. Infield single. Ellsbury, after Ellsbury stole second, error put him to third, and then Victorino got an infield single for the win.
Yeah, he's enjoying his step in Boston. Hopefully he'll have a successful year up there. It's interesting to see that they're off to a good start. Better than most people thought. Again, it's a long season, so you just never know.
I just want to say that you picked them to finish last.
Right. And I picked the Yankees to be kind of right there with them. And Toronto, where I picked, they're in question now. But again, it's early. You just never know.
Plenty of time for us to fall apart.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the things about this movie is the role of Branch Rickey was actually originally intended for Robert Redford, who played in The Natural, who basically modeled his role after Ted Williams. And it just went to Harrison Ford, who did an outstanding job. The Birmingham, Alabama News reported that the Birmingham's Rickwood Field was the oldest surviving baseball field in the United States, and it played in 3 different roles in this movie. It was doubling for Roosevelt Stadium in Jersey City, where he had his first minor league game. Forbes Field in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Both, of course, they don't exist any longer. And it was also played when they created the games for the Kansas City Monarchs. And, of course, with the computer graphics technology, they put any ballpark in the background behind the field. But the Broadway musical about Jackie Robinson took a long time by the composers and the critics of Annie. It lasted only 37 performances in 1981. And then Spike Lee, who's famous for putting stories together, had tried to make a film about the life of Jackie Robinson in 1995 with Denzel Washington. And it just never got off the ground. But Jackie Robinson, I'm going to talk about some of the famous things people had said about him and some of the quotes that he made. One of the things that he's famous for saying is baseball is like a poker game. Nobody wants to quit when he's losing, and nobody wants to quit when you're ahead. He's also noted for saying life is not important except in the impact it has on other lives. How you played in yesterday's game is all that counts. He also went on to say, I guess you'd call me an independent since I've never identified myself with one party or another in politics. I always decide my vote by taking as careful a look as I can at the actual candidates and issues themselves, no matter where the party label. And he said, I'm not concerned with liking or disliking me. All I ask is that you respect me as a human being. It kills me to lose. If I'm a troublemaker, I don't want to think that my temper makes me one. That is because I can't stand losing. That's the way I am about winning. All I ever want to do was finish first. He also said life is not a spectator sport. If you're going to spend your whole life in the grandstand just watching what goes on, in my opinion, you're wasting your life. So he's telling people out there to make the most out of your life. Pop flies, in a sense, are just a diversion for a second baseman. Grounders are his stock trade. The right of every American to first-class citizenship is the most important issue of our time. And he says, the way I figured it, I was even with baseball, and baseball was with me. The game had done much for me, and I had done much for it. There's not an American in this country free until every one of us is free. He said, if Mr. Rickey hadn't signed me, I wouldn't have played another year in the Black League. It was too difficult. The travel was brutal. Financially, there was no reward. It took everything you made to live off. So the timing was right for Jackie Robinson when he was signed by Branch Rickey. He played for the Montreal Royals again for the AAA affiliate. But as I write these words now, I cannot stand and sing the national anthem. I have learned that I remain a black in a white world. Above anything else, I hate to lose. Now, some of his teammates, Duke Schneider, who's a Hall of Famer, he said, he was the greatest competitor I have ever seen. Branch Rickey had said there was never a man in the game who could put his mind and muscle together quicker than Jackie Robinson. He also said to Jackie, we've got no army. There's virtually nobody on our side. No owner, no umpires, very few newspapermen. And I'm afraid that many fans may be hostile. We'll be in a tough position. We can win only if we can convince the world that I'm doing this because you're a great ball player and a fine gentleman. One of the things about Branch Rickey was he believed and wanted to do what God wanted him to do. And that's the test he put to Jackie Robinson because he was going to be on trial. He would say, you could fire back, but they're not going to remember the guy that gave you the racial slur or threw the punch first. They're just going to remember what you did. So that's why you can't fight back because they'll only point you out and they won't point anybody else out. So that was an important thing that he had to take a stand for. He basically has a lot of tributes. There's a lot of ballparks and little league parks all around the country. He's noted as an American hero. Jackie Robinson, some of the highlights in his career. When 2007 came, marked the 60th anniversary of Jackie Robinson's rookie season. He became the first person to break the color line, as this is what the movie's all about. And he was extremely talented, again, in multiple sports talent. He could have had a basketball scholarship, a football scholarship, or a track scholarship, but he chose baseball. And he was very active in his role as civil rights in the 1960s and the early 70s. Any comments, JD?
No, I mean, obviously he's one of the greatest of all time. Okay, I haven't seen the movie yet, but as soon as I can find some time to, I definitely will. But I mean, there's a reason why every year there's one player that Major League Baseball takes the time to appreciate, where you see the 42 jerseys come out, and usually it's the leader of every MLB team that wears that 42 on a day. Sometimes many players on the team on the same day wear the 42 jersey. I think it's well deserved, and I believe a lot of his stances, especially politically. I'm pretty much the same way politically. You know, you got to sit back and you got to look at everybody. I don't go one way or the other. You know, you got to kind of figure out what works best for you.
Do you know who the last team to integrate in baseball was?
Was it the Red Sox?
It was the Red Sox.
Yeah.
Do you know the player?
Oh, you're killing me now. I remember it was the Red Sox. I don't remember the player.
Pumpsie Green, 1959. And you know what's so ironic about the Red Sox? Before the Jackie Robinson tried out for the Dodgers, he had a tryout with the Boston Red Sox in 1946.
Yeah.
Nobody ever realized, but they were just putting on a show for the mayor, just to appease the mayor at the time, who was a desegregationist.
The Red Sox haven't had, well, early in their history, they really didn't do very good with keeping the right people.
Yeah,
so
that goes for a lot of teams.
They kept Ted Williams. That part I will give you. And then when he returned from fighting battle, they kept him. They still kept him. So, you know, that was their best decision. Williams, Yaz, you know, Pesky, you know, people like that. But yeah, nobody's ever accused the Red Sox organization, either in the past or now, of making the best decisions.
No, they certainly haven't. But we've all made decisions in life we wish we could regret, and some people never get it. Unfortunately, some of the things they showed in the movie last night, you know, why people are still that way today. You see a kid sitting next to his dad. He's looking at his dad. Why is he talking that way to this man? He loves the Dodgers, but yes, he was attacking Jackie Robinson from the stands. So the kid just joined in because he thought it was the thing to do.
That's
what happens. It's passed on from generation to generation, and they don't even know why. Most people have these prejudices, and they don't even know why.
Right.
It was just, my father was that way. I guess I'm going to be that way.
Exactly, and that goes. I think that goes not just around sports, but everything. You know, whether it's prejudice or simple daily decisions or whatever. I know people that smoke because their parents smoked. Mm-hmm. It was the thing to do.
And drinking and everything else.
I mean, it's sometimes people don't realize, especially parents, they don't realize, the impact. But that's why some of the best athletes out there come from parents who were originally athletes.
Yeah, most of the time, of course, then you have these exceptions like Jackie Robinson and Willie Mays. Willie Mays I consider the greatest all-around player of all time, the five-tool player and the instincts that he had like no others.
Yep.
And he was just an incredible player. Jackie Robinson, I'll tell you one player that did remind me of Jackie Robinson today was Jose Reyes, the way he danced around the bases. When Jackie Robinson drove the pitchers nuts, he would stand on third base and dance, and he'd cost them the balk half the time. And I mentioned earlier he had 19 career stolen bases at home.
Right.
But that doesn't count all the balks that he scored.
Right.
Yeah, and to this day, Yogi Berra says, in the 55 World Series that he was out. And he was called safe. So, yeah, he was quick. He was quick, and he made his mark. So it's Jackie Robinson Day this Monday, April 15th, and you'll see 42 on everyone's back. And some of the people who actually had an input in this movie was Hank Aaron and Derek Jeter. They were consulted on this movie because Hank Aaron came up from the Negro Leagues as well, and he premiered in the late 50s and played in the World Series his first 2 years in 57 and 58 at the then time Milwaukee Braves. And, of course, he stayed with the Braves through Atlanta and finished his career back with the Milwaukee Brewers where he started. There's just so many great players. You kind of wonder how the major leagues would have been if these people were integrated earlier. Josh Gibson, who was a candidate, they said he had a 700-foot home run out of Yankee Stadium one time. Because when the Yankees were out of town, that's where the Negro players played a lot of times at Yankee Stadium and some of the other major league ballparks. He actually had a brain tumor at 35 years old. He died in January of 47, just 3 months before Jackie Robinson debuted. And the debate is made that he could have been the first, but there was a lot of mental issues. But again, Larry Doby thought he had a broken heart, and that's why he died, because he felt he should have been the first. But I can't really believe that one. So 4 famous things happened on the 15th of April that people are known for. Of course, we know Tax Day. That's not a good thing. People dread that day, April 15th. That's infamous. The Titanic sunk on April 15th. And Abraham Lincoln died on April 15th after he was shot. 3 bad things and now a good thing that actually happened on April 15th. And it was integration by Jackie Robinson. It was just a little crazy with the numbers here. Lincoln was assassinated on April 15th. He died in 1865. The Titanic sunk, by the way, the same week Fenway Park opened up in 1912. Those 2 events, major events in history that people are well aware of, were 47 years apart. The year 47 that Jackie Robinson debuted on April 15th. That's kind of ironic, I think. So Jackie Robinson went on to be a great player. He's one of the few people who played only 10 years and made the Hall of Fame. Ralph Kiner is another. Sandy Koufax, another. Just with the impact they had in such a short time, well-deserved. And that 42 is playing in theaters across the country, so I would recommend go see it, and you'll enjoy it. And unfortunately, some people had to use dramatic license to portray and use words that we don't like to hear today, but that was the only way to get the point across. I listened to a little excerpt on Jackie Robinson's daughter yesterday, who have actually saw the movie 7 times already this week because of all the previews and everything, and she said it got better every time, and it's wonderful to see what her parents might have looked like at their young age and how they courted each other and how the respect that they've had for each other. And she was a great support to him. He basically might not have done it without her. He married her right away, and she was actually the only wife allowed in spring training in the summer of '47 with the Dodgers down in Daytona Beach, Florida, which was just before this Vero Beach existed, which was a famous Dodger town for years until they moved here to Glendale, Arizona 3 years ago. But that's the kind of respect that Branch Rickey and the Dodgers had for Jackie Robinson and his wife. Wanted to do anything to make him successful. Sometimes they had to sneak him out of town early if there was a threat of violence. There was many, many threats that people aren't aware of off the field, just in the places he used to stay. And this was in homes by other Negro families that put him up because they wouldn't put him in the hotel. It continued on even when Willie Mays and players like Elston Howard, the first Yankee Negro player in 1960. He had to stay in separate hotels, and many times in restaurants they wouldn't let him eat. And Mickey Mantle was noted for actually going out to the bus and eating with him rather than staying in the restaurant. So these players endured more than any of us could imagine. He endured a lot, and he paved the way for many of the great Hall of Fame players today, like Frank Robinson and Hank Aaron and Derek Jeter and Gates Brown and Bob Gibson, one of the greatest pitchers of all time. Paved the way for them, and come to the end of the 60s, just 20 years later after Jackie Robinson came in, these players like Curt Flood, he was another significant player. He was the player that started basically free agency by arguing about arbitration and not having to play for the same team, and he made quite an impact on baseball as well, and he's the reason there's free agency today because of the stand that he took, and that took a toll on his life as well. So a lot of things happened because of Jackie Robinson, and the Brooklyn Dodgers, when they won the World Series in 1955, he was a part of that, and believe it or not, that was the only time Brooklyn ever won, and the only world championship Jackie Robinson ever had. And of course, the Dodgers went on to several world championships after that, one as early as 1959 when they went to Los Angeles. So that's about going to wrap it up for today. Jackie Robinson, the legend, 42, will be seen on Everyone's Back this Monday. So turn on a ball game on April 15th, Monday, and take a look at how great Jackie Robinson Day is. And if you haven't seen the movie yet, go out and see it.
Was I supposed to come in there a second ago and say something? I was paying attention to the Yankees losing. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, it's just another day in baseball.
Yeah, but it's still always good to start the day with a Yankee loss. And I am cheering on your Mets against Minnesota.
Yeah, okay, and I don't know what's going on yet. I'm doing a tape delay myself with the DVR.
Okay, so I shouldn't tell you.
I'm going to watch it like it's live.
All right, buddy.
Yeah.
Well, next week.
Next week
we'll be back in.
Next week.
Same time.
Same time.
Same place.
Okay.
All right, so we'll see you next week. And everybody, thanks for listening. You're listening to Baseball Pure Perspective with Patrick Corridan.